Mike did nothing wrong. It's a post I see often in the co-threads, but I have to ask the question, did Mike truly do nothing wrong? Everything he's ever done, was it all reasonable? Let's take a look back at all the things that Mike has done quote unquote wrong and see what is what. We'll keep a nice and naughty counter. First, Mike completely disregarded Lucy in favor of Sandy when they were kids, but Sandy was much nicer than Lucy was. She didn't hit him or yell at him and was really sweet and generous. Lucy, even as a young kid, was pretty aggressive and it was a behavior she never grew out of. Still, it wasn't nice of him to ignore her like that. Of course, the aggressiveness makes Mike become delusioned with Lucy, believing that she doesn't love him and only uses him as a security blanket, which I guess was true to a certain extent, because every time he'd shown her affection, she'd be too scared to show her feelings and reject him, even though she was deeply in love. Mike ends up getting back with Sandy, even though Lucy still loved him. Her big mistake already stated, not being honest to him about her feelings, something she would beat herself up later for. Mike was completely in his right to go back with Sandy, but things begin to change. Lucy admits her love to Mike, and he kinda puts her down hard, stating he loved her at one point but not anymore. He almost seems disgusted with the idea. This could have been, and should have been, handled with more tact. He does seem to feel bad about it, but there's a way to gently let someone down and this was not it. Still, he did the right thing overall. After this, Mike starts to avoid her out of guilt. Understandable, but now it's made things worse. Lucy still cares deeply about him, and his neglectful behavior has a huge impact on her. Now he's avoiding her because he's tired of the years of abuse from her, compounded with Sandy crying about how Lucy hurts him. He should have at least tried to work things out rather than let it fester. This comes to a head in December when Mike finally lets loose all his frustrations toward Lucy. Mike, he has a right to be mad at her. She is an incredibly frustrating person. She loved Mike, yet she treated him as a punching bag for years, even after he told her he liked her, and all the times he was gentle and kind to her. Then to have people get upset at you for trying to distance yourself from this person, compounded with your current girlfriend pointing out how horrible she is, it probably warped his mind. Mike was cruel here. Plain and simple. Once again, he should have kept a cool head on his shoulders and expressed his frustrations in a collected yet firm manner. He comes around eventually and he's absolutely right. He has a lot he needs to make up for. Mike becomes a little tyrant over the next few months. He smashes Paulo's face into a table, which he later apologizes for. Then on Halloween, he yells at everyone again, including Daisy, to mask his insecurities over his lack of communication with Sandy, which he also later apologizes for. He was starting to get overly jealous about Lucy hanging out with Augustus. In Eternal Flame, Lucy kisses him and he goes back to Sandy that night, though it wasn't without a ton of convincing on her end. This is not good either. Mike should have taken her cheating as well as the months of non-communication as a sign he really needs to move on from her. He then feels bad about what he did, going back to Sandy, and says he will avoid Lucy to stop hurting her. I'm gonna give him a nice for this one. Mike kisses Daisy out of revenge for Sandy cheating on him. Even though Daisy was okay with this and pushed it even further, this is not a good move. And that's it so far. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments. Did Mike truly do nothing wrong? It's really a toss-up. It kind of goes back and forth, and I suppose it's up to the individual to decide. From my point of view, he's a mixed bag. He tries to do the right thing, but usually goes about it in the wrong way, and sometimes the absolute worst way possible. Do you agree with my assessment of Mike? Let me know in the comments below, and have a great day.